Hey guys, just playing around with some of the factory presets. If you're not aware, for the FM3, firmware version 1.04 has been officially released. It took a while in some public betas and some other testing, and I think they've done an amazing job updating the FM3. It's getting closer and closer to the AXFX3, which is the whole point of both of these pieces of gear. The FM3 was created such that it could get as much of the AXFX3 updates as possible, since they developed the new stuff on the AX3 and then it works its way to the FM3, which is great. So I'm just here hanging out. I'm testing out everything for myself for the release version. So if you have any questions on anything, let me know. I'm just here hanging out. So if you want to hang out, cool. Definitely get in chat, ask any questions you may have, of course. And but this is sort of a hangout. I do these often, just kind of sit here, I play around, check out new stuff, and wait for any questions you may have. So if you have any questions, go ahead. I'm just going to start going through some of the factory presets here. But yeah, thanks for being here. Again, if this is boring or something, feel free to check on out. But I'm here mostly as a resource. If you have any questions on the FM3, any questions on the update, want to see anything or anything like that, and we just kind of go with it. If it's a long topic, if no one else is around asking things, I might focus on that. If not, I might give a shorter answer, but that's how it goes. Let's check this out. Now, a recent thread I saw on the forum was saying things like, oh, I'm on these clean amps, you know, and it's not sounding clean. Something to keep in mind is that factory presets are just starting points, and it depends on the situation they were creating it in, the guitar they were using. So I'm using a humbucker 7-string guitar, so I wouldn't expect much to sound clean. But if you are experiencing any presets where you think it should be clean and it's not, you can definitely dial back the input drive, input trim. This one's dialed back pretty heavily already, but the scene is called crunch, so this one's meant to be sort of a dirty thing. So 59 bass guy, a lot of people buy it as a clean amp, like a pedal platform amp, but it's really known for its sort of crunch, so that's not necessarily a clean preset. Let's go, I think they said like the double verb. Having trouble talking already, and I just started. My goodness. But yeah, if you're hanging out, let me know if you have any questions in the chat, of course, and we will start talking. But let's see. Double verb, I guess. Yeah, so this is my bridge pickup, and the bridge pickup on this guitar is definitely hot and made for distortion. It can be clean, of course, too, but you need to just dial in your amp a little cleaner to do that. So even though these are visually low, you know, 2.5 versus 5 or higher, that doesn't mean the amp will be clean. You got to remember that these modeled amps, a lot of them are meant to be very, very loud. So in the real world, you're not really turning it up past 1 or 2 on most gigs. And doing so, sometimes that, if you were to put it up past that, it will be very, very loud and will definitely start to distort. Thank you so much for the like on Facebook. Appreciate that. Now, if I go to my middle pickup, this is sort of a stratty tone on this guitar. That's pretty clean already. The split position on these coils, of course, cleans it up. There's less gain sort of coming out of the guitar itself. There's a slight breakup if I really dig in. And then let's try the neck pickup. Yeah, there's a little bit of grit going on, but it's generally clean. This is a perfect example of a time to not use your eyes to judge a tone, but use your ears. Even though the input trim is way down, and even though the input drive is pretty low, you can go lower. And a lot of people say, oh, but if I put it too low, then I don't hear anything. The output goes down. Well, you go over to the level parameter here and just turn it up. These are meant to balance each other out. So let's really clean up this bridge pickup, which is distorted. Right, we're just going to bring the input drive down. Let's go down to 1. Let's just see what that sounds like, right around 1. Still a little distortion, so we can come back down even more. And that really dropped the level. You can hear it. It's very quiet, but it's clean. All you do is you turn the level up to get back to what you need. And the way to do this is on the front panel, you use the meters in that view. So if we go here, not there. If we go here, you see these meters, right, on the top panel or the front screen. And as I play, there's this little line here, and that's the level set line. I always call it the mid line. It's clearly not in the middle, but I tend to call it that for some reason. But this is a level set line, and that's a good area as a reference to set your volume to, right? And then if everything is set to that line, generally speaking, everything will sound an even level. And you can go farther to the right if you want it louder. You can go farther to the left if you want it quieter. So as you can see, I'm actually even holding back playing. It's a little loud. Watch that meter. Now red here isn't a bad thing. It's just indicating it's above that level set line. So I'm going to pull that down. So if we, in edit, you might see on the small screen I'm in edit. Honestly, I feel that the easiest way to do level setting for your amp block is on the hardware itself. So if you have it close to you, this would be great. All you need to do is you nav over to the amp block, right? Make sure it's highlighted. And yeah, we're zoomed out, so it's a little small. But once you get there, when you turn the C knob itself, this is actually adjusting the level of any block you highlight. So you can highlight the amp block and then turn the C knob to change the level right there. I find that's way easier than sort of playing, grabbing the mouse or whatever and going to edit and grabbing the level knob and slowly trying to turn it down, because this knob like clicks as you turn it. It's way easier, in my opinion, to set the level. So let's do that. I'm going to use the C knob on the hardware and not use edit to adjust this amp. We reduce the gain or the input drive a lot just so it doesn't break up at all, right? And it's pretty loud. So I'm just going to turn this down and keep playing until I feel it's at that level set line. Okay, it's still a little loud, so I'm going to turn it down more. And of course, realize that guitar is a very dynamic instrument, especially on a clean tone. Watch as I play very lightly, and then if I dig in a little bit, there's a wide range of variance on that meter. So check that out. And I don't use the wah pedal. So when you're level setting, make sure you play with a range of dynamics so you can see sort of where on average you might play, and consider that when you're on stage versus at home, on stage you're probably hitting the guitar very hard. So try to duplicate what you do on stage at home if that's where you're setting your levels. At home you're like, oh, I don't want to wake anybody up. Oh, everything sounds fine. Then you get to the gig and you're like, you really hit it and you're like, I don't know what happened. It was just suddenly louder. Well, you're playing harder. It's very common. Anyway. I feel that's sort of the average of how hard I would play. It's definitely still going over that level set line, but again, guitar is a dynamic instrument, so it will do that. It will go over the line. But set it to some sort of average. Now, I've seen a lot of talk about peak metering, adding a peak hold or something like that. And in my opinion, that won't help you set levels. That'll let you know how loud you've been. And setting a level is more of an average thing. On average, I play this level. If I were to hit it hard and, it goes over to the right, if there were a peak hold, it would show me that at some point in my life, I've played that loud. And then if I reduce it so that peak is on the level set line, when I play normally again, everything will be way too quiet. Especially when you consider clean amps are more dynamic versus a distorted or high gain amp. High gain amps sort of tend to squish everything. That's the compression from gain. And the level is way more consistent in general. So it will stay around that level set line much easier versus a clean tone. So if I were to set all my clean tones by peak, the peak is over here and I move it back to the line so it's not as loud, it'll be way, way under any distortion tone. So that's why the average is sort of best. So you just kind of watch that, see where the line is on average, and it's a best guess thing. Even if I were to somehow set everything perfectly to that level set line, when I turn up and when I play, it'll still be slightly out of that because of, like I said, you're playing harder or you're playing quieter or you're louder, so you tend to hit the strings lighter or harder, things like that. So it's still, you have to adjust a little bit by ear once you get to the gig. So just keep that in mind. So the level setting here is a reference. And you just want to look on average where it is. So set it to that level set line on average, save everything, of course, then go to the next preset, repeat the thing, any preset you use, of course. You don't have to do this for all 512 presets, just the ones you use. But anyway, that's the best way I feel to level set. So what sparked this whole thing is we had an input drive of 2.5 and we really wanted to clean this amp up on my bridge pickup because it's such a high output. So look, we're at 0.31 on the input drive. And I've seen a lot of comments of people saying like, oh, you can't do that. That's too low. You shouldn't have to do that. Those sorts of concepts. Again, this is a situation where you need to use your ears and not your eyes to set tones. If we could use our eyes to set tones, we wouldn't have to plug in the guitar. We would just put everything where we think it should be, plug in at the gig, and it magically sounds good. But that's just not how it works. Your guitar affects everything, how you play, the pick you use. I use a pretty hard pick. It's a Jazz 3 XL, and a lot of people hear my tones and say, wow, it's like so much brighter than mine, and yours sounds a certain way. And I said, what kind of pick do you use? They're like, oh, that doesn't matter. I said, well, what kind of pick do you use? And they say, oh, I use like a 0.45 floppy nylon. I said, well, I'm using I think these are like 1.3, something like that. They're maybe one, I don't know. They're thick. So that adds a lot of percussiveness. This is just the strings itself. The pick I use, even if you use the same strings in guitar, the pick I use puts a lot of high-end signal into it. So that's what it sounds like compared to like a floppy nylon 0.3. I think people use that for guitar or something. Super flimsy, pick. It works for acoustic strumming and other applications, but compared to somebody who, if you want that, maybe a harder pick is better. Anyway, use your ears, not your eyes, is where I was going with that. We're at 0.31 on the drive, and that's totally fine. It sounds great. Has that twangy tone, but I took all the distortion out of this by putting the input drive lower than your eyes might say you shouldn't, So always try that. Input trim is low in this amp by factory default. I just loaded it for the first time. And this input trim tends to take away the gain of the amp while retaining the character of the drive, if that makes any sense. So input drive takes down the sort of input driving the amp, making it distort. But input trim sort of takes that gain characteristic down while leaving the tone and characteristics. That's how I describe it. There might be a better technical explanation. But I use input trim all the time to keep sort of the snarliness of an amp if I want that, but reduce the gain to make it cleaner. So these two are important. Some people consider this an advanced parameter, and that's fine. But it's not very advanced in what it does. As far as concept, blow my mind, what is it doing? It cleans up the amp or adds more gain. Very simple, and it tends to leave the tone of the amp alone. So I like using this, but this is how this amp showed up in this factory preset. All we did is change the input drive a little bit. That's the bridge. Here's the neck. Very clean, very, very clean. And here's the split position, the middle split, sort of stratty sound. Question in chat, what is the difference with the new presets versus old? So they released new factory presets today along with the FM3 update. And generally speaking, there's not like major updates. There aren't, 128 new presets or anything like that. Generally speaking, they were adjusted to compensate for higher CPU usage, just to make sure everything was okay. One major update of this 1.04 was adding the economy mode to the reverb block. So went through, made sure everything was set to economy to give you as much CPU as possible. And Matt on the forum, admin Matt, said that there may be some Easter eggs and other surprises like that. So they didn't really document those specific things. But generally speaking, it's more of a quality of life update, I might call it. This is me personally speaking. I don't know. I didn't do the update. But sort of making sure as you change through the presets, nothing goes wrong. There aren't any extraneous blocks or things like that. So I would definitely update them if you like to use the factory presets as a starting point. Just update those factory presets. Now, be careful. When you add presets, you overwrite the other things, right? Yeah, no problem. When you add presets using FractalBot or something, if you add preset files, you overwrite what's there. So if you have any of your personal presets within the first 3 banks, preset 0 to 384, I believe, just move those up to the higher areas. So you would go to Tools, Manage Presets. Okay, and let's say this is still a factory preset, but let's say we just adjusted this double verb, right, and we like it. All you need to do is, well, there's a few ways to do it. If there are multiple presets, Manage works the best. What you do is you click the first preset, and then you hold Shift and click the next preset, to select a range, right? Then you would click and drag. Now, I'm not going to execute this, but you click and drag over, and just go over to like the 400s or something if it's blank, assuming you have some blank spots there. Drag it over. Let's just pop it here for now. Say 475. And when you let go, it's going to move everything there, but it's not done yet. From here, and this is what I'm not going to do, I don't need to, but from here you just hit save, and it'll write all the presets one by one. And now you have all your custom presets that happen to be in the front. Just move them to the back. Make sure you get all of your presets there. And then when you're done, see, it swaps it, so that's fine. That's the changing, it's swapping the positions of things. But when you're done and it's saved up in those upper banks, you can overwrite all those presets safely and you're not going to lose anything. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to close out of this without saving that. The other way, if you have just a few presets, I usually do it this way. I only use one preset, generally speaking. So the fastest way is just go to Preset, Save to New Preset Number. That's really simple. So I'm on preset, 4. Go to Preset, Save to New Preset Number. Scroll over to the list, go somewhere up high. See, I have a bunch of things that I've been testing and whatever. And you drop it in here. Let's say 476, hit save. I'll do it. It's just one preset. Hit save. And you're duplicating the preset at this point. So over there, it was at 4. Now we're at 476. I have my same preset I was just playing. Right? But it's over here safe out of the factory bank. So just make sure if you're updating your factory presets, you are going to overwrite them. That's the point. And make sure you don't lose anything in those areas that you are going to overwrite. Very, very simple. Actually, let me clean that up a little bit. Doing a bunch of testing. There's always presets lying around. Let's see. That is old. That's old. Okay. So yeah, we're just going to save this. So yeah, once you hit save, it'll write all of those things. Whatever you change, it'll change from a red with a dot to a green, meaning we did it. Sorry about that. Going to turn that down as it changes presets. And while you're doing it, you can't really do anything, so just wait. Super smart of me to do this during a live stream, so we all have to wait. But how's your day going? What's going on where you are? Everyone okay? don't want to get into it too much, but I hope everyone's just being safe out there and doing what you need to do. Focus on music, get away from everything, and just get into creation. Anyway, it's all done. Hit close once you're done, and everything will be updated like you just made it. So let me go back to my preset and check everything out. All right, let's see how this is working. Oh, I turned it down. So one thing I've recently done on this main preset, a lot of times when I'm testing and helping out people, I'm demoing how to create the foot switches and things like that. And that means I'm always changing it, and I always have to go back to factory defaults using the menu. And something I was having trouble with is I personally, when I use my preset, I have a certain way I like to set up the foot switches. But if I'm constantly setting it back to default, I always lose it, and I always need to redo it before my gig or something like that. So recently I've been using the feature called per preset switches, and this really helps us adjust the foot switches so when you change to a preset, the options you want are there per preset. That's the whole per preset concept. So instead of manually changing some layout every single time, I finally added the definitions to the per preset layout in this preset that I use. And now every time I load the defaults, I just go to layout 6, which is a per preset default layout, and everything is there the way I like it. So if we look on the switches itself, I set multi-delay on and off with that switch. That sort of whoosh sound, and there's a filter block at the end of that making it go whoosh whoosh. On the hold function of this, I have my dotted... Oop, I forgot to set that one, I guess. Let's try this again. Yeah, that's not supposed to be view. So here's a mistake, and here's a learning opportunity. For some reason, I thought I did this. Oh, no, I didn't, because it doesn't save. So what you also need to do is, when you do per preset placeholders, I forgot, it actually only does tap and hold separately. So just because I set the tap function to a placeholder, that doesn't make the hold function automatically be the next placeholder. Hey, from Kenosha, Wisconsin. Hey, what's going on? How are you? Thanks for stopping by. If you have any questions, I see you're on Twitch. That's so cool. We have Twitch. I'm streaming to Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Mixer at the same time. So if you have any questions on any of those platforms, hopefully you're watching from something you have an account, go ahead and jump into chat, and I should be able to see all of the chat. If anybody's watching on YouTube, if you can just drop some comment in the chat just so I can see that it works. I'm pretty sure it does. Usually get a lot of YouTube comments here, but I haven't seen any yet, so just making sure it all works. Anyway, back to per preset. You also need to set the placeholder on the hold function if that's what you want. So for now, I'm just going to copy and paste. So even this, though this resets every time I do a factory reset, this is much faster to do than putting everything manually, all 12 settings or whatever I use. So I'm just copying the placeholder from each switch. So it should be tap and hold for that number. Hey, hey, good to see you guys. Yeah, thanks so much. Just making sure chat works, of course, on, there we go. Thanks for saying what's up. Yeah, if you have any questions, I know this can be boring if I talk about what I want to talk about. So if you want to talk about anything, drop a comment or anything and let me know. But I'm just hanging out here with firmware 104. It just released 6 hours ago or 7 hours ago now. I was sleeping. It's 1 p.m. here where I am, so it released very early. Okay, there we go. Now I have all the switches I want. And I just realized you couldn't see any of that. All I was doing is copying and pasting the placeholders here. But now we can see on the switches, I was so distracted by comments, my goodness. Now we can see on the switches I have multi-delay and then I have delay hold. Or excuse me, that's a terrible way to describe that because that's an actual function. I have my dotted eighth delay on the hold function of that switch. Ooh, that's very fast. I'm going to slow that down. It was officially released. So this is firmware 1.04 official release. So it went through a lot of public betas and other testing, and they released it this morning, the official release. I definitely recommend it. Because FM3 Edit was also updated. It's much snappier. It's sort of a big quality of life. I've said that already, but a big quality of life update. The AXFX3 had a lot of new things added to it right when the FM3 was launched. So to have the launch of the FM3 have those very new things from the AXFX3 at that time didn't make too much sense. So now they're trying to put as much of the AXFX3 into the FM3 as they can. And that was the whole concept of how these pieces of gear work. Thank you for the like on Facebook. Updating firmware tomorrow. Cool. Have you checked how much CPU is being saved by the new reverb? I have during testing. It's pretty significant. Let me see. So I don't have reverb in my personal preset. Everywhere I go, I generally use my mixer for reverb just so the vocals and the guitars and everything else plugged in have the same reverb. I don't use reverb in my preset personally, but let's go to something that does have reverb, and I believe the first one does. Or actually, let's not adjust those. Oh, I deleted it. Cool. Let's go to this one. I just cleaned it up. Let me see. Turn down a little. Okay, there. So I believe in my testing when economy was added, I think we see, let's just say 4 to 8% savings in general, but it depends what you're coming from. So let's watch the CPU meter here. We're at 73 or so. We're on economy. Now, first, before any of this, I'll say economy, in my opinion, really sounds good. I think people have a lot of issues with the words used, and if you're not using high quality reverb, then it sounds bad. That is totally not the case. It's not high quality versus low quality. It's just like the settings, as you go up, the quality improves, but that doesn't mean it was bad when you began. So before, normal was the lowest quality setting. So we're at 72 right this second. If I add it, it bumps up to 70, 78, 79. So this is what we were seeing before this update. Normal was the lowest quality of reverb, and let's just call it 79. We're at 79%. We go back down to economy, and we're at 72, 73, somewhere in there. So you do the math. No, really, do the math. What was it? Anyway, from 72, 73 to normal, which is at 80, 79, somewhere in that area. Okay, so we're already at that sort of 80% CPU limit, generally speaking, because it needs the other percent to run the audio and process everything, of course. We enjoy when it makes sound. So let me remove some blocks just from this, just so we can play around with that reverb a little bit more. We don't need any of this stuff. We don't use effects. We're a 1 amp kind of guy. Okay, so now we're at 44. We have some headroom here. So let's change this to high quality. So So I know I just changed all the references. We were at 44 on normal. Going to high quality is 54. And ultra high, I mean, if you want ultra high reverb, you're asking to use a lot of CPU. That was recently added to the Acoustic FX3, where there generally is a little CPU for extra usage. But we go to ultra, and it actually doesn't jump up that much more when I did some tests on the X3 when that was released. But now we're at 56 to 58, and it fluctuates because it's processing audio. There's different things going on. So that's ultra high. We're going to jump all the way down to economy. And yeah, honestly, I don't hear much of a difference. There is a slight difference. In my opinion, I feel economy, depending on your settings, might have a little bit more high end, if anything. As you go up in quality, it sort of mutes the high end from what I've heard, just experience. But that is so subtle, and especially live, you wouldn't hear that, generally speaking. In headphones and things like that, if you're critically listening for something, you're going to hear it. That's a statement I kind of make often. If you're looking for a difference, you're going to find it, whether it's there or not. But yeah, economy, I feel the only slight difference is there's a little bit more high end in the reverb sound specifically, but it's very, very subtle. You wouldn't really hear a difference. Yeah, economy is great. I'm so glad they added it. It was funny, they added it in the release version. Hey, thanks for the like on Facebook. We saw it on the Acoustic FX3, and then I was like, oh, are we going to get it on the FM? And yes, of course. And Cliff sort of said publicly, like, that's why it was created. But so a question earlier is, does the FM3 have the same presets as the Acoustic FX3? Generally speaking, the answer is actually yes. Generally speaking, the presets are very similar, but they're not exactly the same because of CPU usage. I have my... I don't know how to type right now. I have my Acoustic FX3 plugged in, and let me just show you some sort of comparison. And we'll jump back to reverb tests in just a second. But let's just compare these two presets here to... Oh, no, that's preset 1. So this is the FM3 we're looking at. You have comp, wah, phaser, drive, amp, cab, chorus. Yeah, amp, cab, chorus, delay, rotary, and reverb, and then the output block, right? This is what? 4, 8, 12 by 4. The grid is 12 by 4. I'm sliding over the Axe Edit 3 now. You can see the blocks look smaller. That's because there's more space on the grid. So the Axe 3 preset also has flanger and plex delay, right? Compared to this one, which doesn't have it. I guess we could do that. I'm smart. That's how you can compare it. So generally speaking, yeah, they're similar. So if you're familiar with the Acoustic FX3 and you're like, oh, I can't afford it, I want the FM3, is everything going to be the same? Yes, it will sound the same. Generally speaking, it sounds exactly the same. There might be slight differences in presets just due to grid size and availability. There are less spaces on the FM3, so we couldn't put these blocks. And the CPU, of course. This one with some extra blocks on the Axe3 is at 57%, whereas on the FM3, it's at 75%. So it is known and public knowledge that the FM3 has a processor that doesn't handle as much as the larger Acoustic FX3. So that's common knowledge. That's totally fine because it's a smaller unit. So knowing that, there will be some changes to the presets and things like that. But generally speaking, I feel the answer is yes. The presets, the factory presets that come with it are generally the same. There are some new ones on the FM3 that aren't on the Acoustic FX3, but they're generally the same. Can you use the pitch block to simulate tuning down a half step? Yes, you can. And so this is sort of a interesting topic because just in the last few weeks or so, the Acoustic FX3 was updated with a new pitch block. The way that Axe FX3 pitch block works now is way better than it's ever worked, and everybody loves it. So if you're familiar with sort of the drop pedal by Digitech or anything like that, it drops the tuning of the entire guitar. They updated the Axe FX3 so that sounds really, really good now, and people are saying they're going to sell their drop pedal, you know, their external pedal for that because it sounds so good on the Axe 3. That is not in this update for the FM3. 1.04 does not have the recent pitch updates that happened just this week yet. They will be working on putting that in there from what we've seen publicly, and we will see. But yes, you can use it here, but the results may vary right now because we're waiting for those updates to come over to the FM3. So I'll do it for you, and this is what it sounded like before, and people were, you know, some people didn't like it. They said it didn't sound good, and especially in this environment, I have headphones, and you're probably on headphones or like speakers, very quiet. You can really tell if you look for a problem, you're going to find it. So this is what it sounded like before and currently on the FM3. It's going off screen here, but there's a mode called Virtual Capo, and it was added on the Axe 3 a little while ago, but to sort of detune the whole guitar thing. So this is what it does, and I'm not the best demoer sometimes of things, so let's just see what it sounds like. So depending on the amp type and the distortion as well, this effect worked better with some amps, and others just like a high gain amp might sound a certain way just because of where the harmonics are going, because the transients are being -1 is a semitone. So these are semitones, meaning a half step. So -1 goes from E, like an E chord would go to E flat. -2 would be the full step. So these are half steps, semitones. So this is a D. I'm holding an E chord, but this is a D in real life. Right? And it's been updated on the Axe FX3 to sound much better. I'm glad that happened, and everyone's really glad. Like I said, people are saying they're getting rid of their drop pedal because in the Axe FX3 recent update, it sounds so good. So that's going to hopefully come over to the FM3. I believe they said they will be working on it publicly, so we shall see that. How are you connecting to both the Axe 3 and the FM3 USB to your computer? Just two different USB ports. I have a little hub connected to the computer, you know, typical USB hub, and I have one USB cable from the Axe 3 and another USB cable from the FM3, and you can run them together. I have an Axe 2 here. I could plug that in additionally. I'm just out of USB ports and plugs and everything, so I didn't do that. For the streaming, I also this causes a little noise due to ground issues, but I also have the Axe FX3 plugged in to everything with the same guitar. So my guitar is plugged into my mixer, and then the mixer sends out cables to the Axe 3 and the FM3 at the same time. So that helps me test things when I'm testing Axe 3 versus FM3 or something. So I could easily switch over to the Axe 3 for audio most of the time. It does add noise because of how grounds work and stuff I don't understand. So I have a lot more noise going into the units, but for testing it's fine, and I try to keep that noise away from the stream. Yeah, dropping E flat will be great. Oh, but hold on, we have a pizza comment, so I need to talk about that. Pizza's ready, so he's going to come back. Thanks so much. Yeah, dropping the E flat with the pitch block will be great. And another thing we don't have in the FM3 yet is the perform pages. If you've seen it on the Axe 3, I don't want to move the camera right now, unfortunately. it takes a while to frame everything, but there's a perform page where you can add whatever dial you want from whatever block you want in an easy to access area. And right there, you could just put a dial and turn the pitch as you want as you play different songs. For me, I've never used pitch drops or capos, like real capos. I tend to try and play the songs in standard tuning, whatever it is. But of course, some songs, you know, if you're in E flat and you want to play like, I know the guitar's not on, but if you want to play that sort of voicing in E flat, you just can't do it. So the capo is going to be great. The pitch block is going to be great once it's updated for the FM3. And then, yeah, about the multiple USB things. Yes, a hub works. They all have their own little identities, or however USB works. It will recognize them separately. Just keep in mind, if you have multiple units plugged in, or even if you only have one, don't open up Fractal Bot standalone and an editor program. That can mess up with communications, because FM3 Edit is connected to the FM3. And then if you also open up Fractal Bot and connect it to the FM3, that's where things can go wrong, because it's sending to two different sources or whatever. So Fractal Bot, always close everything else. But separate units, just plug it into a hub or something like that, and you can open up both at the same time and use both at the same time. Let's see. For Fractal Noob, how easy will the FM3 be to navigate using FM3 Edit mostly? Yeah, let me take a sip of water, and then that's a great question. So, I think it's common for people to want to use Edit. That's why it was created. If adjusting things from the hardware was completely simple on any platform, there wouldn't ever be a computer editor. You know what I mean? But with smaller interfaces or things like that, a computer editor, of course, makes sense today. So, you say navigate. I think you might also mean like creating presets and things like that. I will say that using Edit, you have access to more things. There's more information on the screen at once. Again, which is the reason to create an editor, to make things easier. So while I'm using a mouse, I can click around to different blocks and see all the different pages, you know, on the editor. Things like this are easier because of a mouse interface that most of us are used to. You have the big presets view that you can go and do things. You can use manage like I did earlier. I don't know if you were here, but you can open up manage and then like select several presets at once, drag them around, move things however you need to, that you can't do on the hardware, simply because the hardware doesn't have a point and click interface. You know, it's not an iPad, it's not a mouse like a computer. So all that said, Edit will definitely be easier for many things, and just because it's a mouse point and click experience, but the hardware itself, I feel, is really simple to use. And for one example, I personally feel that setting up the foot switches is easier on the hardware. It's easier and faster on the hardware than it is with Edit. Let me show you that. So let me go, how should I do this? Let's adjust layout 7 a little bit, right? So right now, these are the foot switch designations. These are the functions that the foot switches will do. On here, USB takes a little bit of time to communicate back and forth, so sometimes this feels a little slow, and I've seen people mention this and say, oh, it's so frustrating. But honestly, I feel going to the hardware is faster. So here, we go to category, layout. I mean, it's not deathly slow, but it took a while for that to show up, right? Function, master, layout. Let's just do increase, decrease. Takes a few seconds for that, or a second. I don't want to be exaggerant here, but you change what the number is. You gotta wait, you click that, you know, that's that. I feel it's easier on the hardware. All you do is you go to Setup, FC Controllers, and you're in the Easy screen, right? So I'm gonna bring this up. What you do is you press the switch that you want, and you can move up here. I'm using the nav arrows here. I'm using this to go up and down, and I'm gonna turn that. But just to zoom in on the screen, you change the layout you want, you change the view, and you just go to the switch. So let's say I want to do, well, I can't look at the screen at the same time. I have to look. So let's say you want to do scene, toggle, 1 and 2. 1 and 2, whatever. Boom, done. Way, way faster. Good morning. I believe from Australia over there. but thanks for tuning in. So I feel that changing the switches is one thing that's way faster on the hardware itself. You know, you just click the switch you want to adjust, change it, scene, toggle, 3 and 4, whatever, doesn't matter. There, boom, done. Super simple, and when you're done, you just hit exit. And as far as going through the preset itself, this is where it slows down a little bit. This is where editing on FM3 Edit might be better, just because you're limited to this screen view. So you would go to the layout, press B, you can zoom in and out, you can go to all the blocks. And again, because this is a single screen view with no mouse and point and click, from here I would hit edit to edit the amp block, and then I would change the amp type, I would go page to see everything. So to me, this isn't difficult, it's just it's spread out. Whereas back on edit here, if I wanted to go to the amp block, you click amp and it's a little bit faster to get to everything. So yes, FM3 Edit is great. All the editor programs are spectacular, but I don't think it's very difficult to adjust things on the hardware either, because you also have these quick knobs. So in appropriate pages, A, B, C, D here are changing these items. So if I wanted to change Variac, I don't have to nav over. I can just turn this knob and change it. And then I nav down to get to the next row and I turn that knob and change it, right? So I think I was so happy. We've had the Axifx 3 and then they announced the FM3, and the front panel of the FM3 is the exact same, at least this section of it, as the Axifx 3. It's the same interface. If you have both, it's very familiar, very easy to use. So I was very happy when that happened. And yeah, it's really easy. When you're talking about like the difficulty of, say, a fractal unit or any other gear, you know, especially comparing them, of course you always read, oh, the fractal gear is hard, or the Line 6 gear is hard, whatever, you name it. People say the gear is hard. It's not that the gear is hard most of the time. A lot of the time, it's you're coming from a place where you haven't used a real tube amp, and you haven't used this chorus pedal, and you haven't used that delay, and you haven't used that, you know. I always say this every stream, and I'm sure people are tired of hearing it, but imagine if you went to a music store and someone said, hey, the whole thing is yours. Go in, choose every piece of gear that you want, and you can take it home. So you do that, you spend $200,000 on things or more. You come home, you plop it in your living room, and you have a bunch of pedals lying around, a bunch of cables disconnected, a bunch of amps and cabs. Do you know how to use all that stuff? You know, if you don't, that's fine, but it'd be the same thing as like, man, I just got all this gear and it's hard. It's not hard, you just haven't used it yet. You haven't plugged it in, you haven't dealt with the connector cables and routing all your effects and pedals and things like that. You know, that's what's happening, I feel, in most of the time. If there are, another thing I suggest all the time is if there are parameters or dials or things that you're not familiar with, just don't touch them. If you're going for a goal of getting a good tone today or something like that, I'm going to set up an amp block. If that's your goal, and you jump into this power supply page and you don't know what AC line frequency is and B+, I don't really know what a lot of these things do. I have to review all the time. I don't touch them. And if you don't touch them, chances are nothing bad will happen. If you want to, if your goal for the day is to experiment, by all means, play, grab all these knobs, see what they do, remember, and say, oh, did I like that result or did I not like that result? But that's experimenting. I think it's important when you're working with any task in general, but especially setting up gear, set a goal for that moment or that hour or that day or something like that. I know a lot of people jump in and say, oh, I just got my FM3. Let me do everything on it today. And that's a little unrealistic. Again, what if you got all those pedals and amps physically? You just look at it and be like, I'm not touching all that today. There's no way. But for some reason, because it's in a little editor window, it seems more feasible. I don't know. Just limit yourself sometimes. Set a goal. If your goal is to experiment, then go ahead, do that. Turn all the knobs, see what they do. But if your goal is to like find a good tone and you just got your FM3, instead of grabbing all the knobs. What I would do, I would suggest go to your factory presets and just go one by one. This is what I did the first day I got my Axe Ultra over 10 years ago. I spent about an hour going through the factory presets they had, and I noted which ones I liked, wrote them down in a little notepad or something, and then eventually I moved those over to the blank spaces so I could create my own presets. So this is what I would do. You get a new FM3, go through the presets. You can use the editor or you can use the front panel and just play them. Ooh, I like that tone, but there's a vibrato going on. Let's change scenes so it's no vibrato. Okay, I like that one. I'm going to write it down in my notepad or on a text document or something like that. Let's move on. Next one. Ooh, I really like that one. Definitely write down number 4. And you just go on. And I wouldn't spend hours on each preset necessarily, although sometimes it happens. You're just so inspired. But just go preset to preset, see what you like. Oh, I need something gainy. Again, don't necessarily just use your eyes. Ooh, I'm looking for a high gain preset. Let me see the ones I'm familiar with. You might not know what a Tucana is. You don't know what that means. And you skip it. Don't skip it. Go through each one. Take the time, and let's see what that sounds like. Now, remember, my guitar is noisy because of my setup, but here we go. Ooh, I really like that. I don't know what a Tucana is. Let's see. Oh, it's named after the amp block, Caroline Tucana. That's a clean. Let's see what the next one is. Next scene, lead. Whatever. A lot of people skip over things because they're not used to it or they don't know what that is. They don't even click on this preset because they're like, I don't know what Tucana means. Click it. Try it all. It's all there, Anyone else have bad fingers right now because you're not gigging? I've literally forgot how to play guitar, and that's why I'm live streaming a lot, honestly. So I force myself to play the guitar because my fingers don't tend to work anymore. Have a comment. Let's see. I updated, but I still have the issue where when I powered down and the USB is connected, the unit is half powered up. Does yours do this? So I'm not familiar with this because my unit didn't do this ever. I've never seen this. So when I saw this on the forum recently, this was new to me. So no. Honestly, from my point of view, I feel like this is a specific hardware issue, unfortunately. It doesn't happen to mine. I turn it off, it turns off. So definitely contact support if you haven't already. I lost track of that thread. But support will definitely take care of you. Send them a message. Maybe I'll find the thread later after the stream, or if someone's watching and wants to help them out. Definitely contact support if you haven't already. That's something I've never experienced in testing. I've never heard of it until I think I saw either your thread or someone who might have had the similar thing. IRC from watching on Twitch says, my fingers are no longer doing what I want them to. Not very motivated to play without gigs. Yeah, same thing here. I would love to sit down and just practice. I think I did it once for 15 minutes. I ran through sort of the sets I would used to play at my gigs, and then I had to do something else. This time is so crazy, of course, and I hope everyone's just being safe and healthy. There's another layer of things happening right now, which we won't get into in this stream, but my goodness, just take your time, take the time you need, get a lot of rest, stay safe. I'm not going or anything, but just commenting on this. But yeah, I wish I could play more. Hey, thanks for the like on Facebook. I wish I could play more, but honestly, the situation has changed like my day job requirements too, so I'm much busier there handling different things, so I don't even have time. So even if I had gigs right now, I probably couldn't do them because of so many other things being affected, but yeah. are you posting the stream after you're done going live? Generally, I try to adjust it, or I make an excerpt and edit out certain things just to make the point of that stream. This one's going a little long and I'm going way all over the place in topics. So I'm just going to leave this one up as is. I'm not going to, usually I hide the original source and upload that excerpt, but I'm probably just going to leave this one here. So people can click around. Once the video's done, it will post on either Facebook or YouTube, and then Mixer or Twitch saves it for like a week or two. But I'm just going to leave this one as is, since it's kind of a wide variety of topics. But yeah, if you're watching, if you're new, my name's Chris. I run axeffectstutorials.com when I have time. The website still needs many more updates. I was working on the blocks list lately to get everything in the blocks. Any article I post goes to the correct block and things like that. And honestly, on the forum recently, I said I'm taking a break. I'm still taking that break, but I do beta team work. I'm a beta tester for Fractal Audio. Yeah, definitely. Live streams are cool if you have questions and want to ask right there. That's the best part of it. You're here, you can ask questions, but feel free to watch later, of course. And no pressure to watch right now unless you have a question or something, or just enjoy hanging out. But yeah, I'm also a beta tester, so I said I would be doing that sort of work still, but sort of answering common or often questions on the forum. I'm taking a break from that for right now. But with the release of 1.04, I just had to jump on and check this out. So yeah, if anybody has any other questions, I'm just going to go through some presets, any topics that come up we can talk about. But yeah, I'm just sort of hanging out today. Hey, thanks for the like on Facebook as well. Much appreciated. Let's see. So yeah, a bunch of the presets I've been up in this top area of the factory presets. There's some really, really cool stuff up here. If you haven't clicked in this sort of 300 area, there's a lot of crazy stuff up here. And there's so many I can never even remember which one I liked. That's going to go on for a while. How's life here? It is hot. I don't know if you can hear my fan. I know it's audible, but I try to balance things so it's not too loud, but I cannot live without this. It's a just simple fan right now, but it is hot. It is very hot here. The last week has definitely been very, very hot. Space Verb 2 has some new twists in it. Okay. Yeah, I jumped on stream right after I updated, so I haven't had time to look for any of the Easter eggs or things like that. So yeah, if you know of anything, let me know. So let's see Space Verb 2. I see this little master time thing changing slightly. That's probably giving a little bit of the warble. It's winter. That's right. It is winter in Australia. 13 degrees Celsius. Yikes. Well, stay inside. Don't get wet. Don't go out there. But I'm going to explore this preset a little more. And something I do, I use a Majesty guitar. I love these. They happen to have a second output, a piezo acoustic output. And in these very, very effect-heavy presets, I like to add that piezo in. Now, if you don't have a guitar that can do that, you can just split the row here. Let's see. And you can split the row and bring it all the way out here to the output block. And maybe use a volume pedal here as well. But I like doing this so I can hear a little dry guitar if I turn the volume up. For me, that just helps so I know what I'm actually playing, because a lot of times in these very washy presets, it's hard to hear your notes because that's what the preset does. I'll talk about the piezo in just a sec. You know, and because of the fade in and everything like that, it's hard to hear. So what I do is I just use the acoustic sound because that's a nice sound in general. And if I was really making this a preset, I wanted the acoustic to sound good, I'd add the other blocks I do, and I'll show you that in just a sec. But it sounds pretty good already, so I just split my guitar so it's sending out both things, and I can hear the acoustic along with that kind of washy stuff. So let me just play with this in a sec. I will show you how I handle my acoustic guitar sound. So I'm fortunate to have a guitar that has those dual outputs. I think that sounds massive, having that very cut. Yeah. Different guitars have different piezo qualities, I'll say that. I've really liked how this has sounded. It's a custom Fishman thing that Music Man uses, I'm pretty sure. It's always sounded pretty good. I'm going to comment on a question I see real quick. If I want to use the FM3 or Axe3 for effects only 4-cable method, do I need to insert the loop block in each possible preset? If you're using the 4-cable method, you need to adjust each preset you use to do that. Yes. The factory presets are examples, and the examples are for full range sounds. So going to a full range speaker or something like that, or headphones. That's how the factory presets are designed. They're made for that purpose. If you want to change the purpose of those factory presets to do 4-cable method, then yes, you have to add the in and out blocks in every preset you want to use. So I would say don't like spend all day and adjust all the presets to add that and then play them. I would say maybe look at the ones you think you want to hear and adjust those. There is no way to do it globally. So this is a point where you might just want to use, I believe there is I think on the Axe3 there is a demonstration 4-cable method demo preset. It's not on this right now, but maybe start there and create your own preset right out of the gate. Or like I said, if you want to, you have to replace the amp block with your output block and the cab block, say with the input, something like that. So yeah. The answer is no. There's no way to globally make every preset 4-cable method because it's at the preset level where you designate or create a 4-cable method preset. So kind of got to do that one. Let me go to my regular preset that I use. And to quickly answer the question, I do not use an IR. I don't use IRs for my acoustic sound. All I have in this for acoustic, sorry, let me adjust this. Take a sip. It is hot. The only thing I use here is, I missed my mouth. Oh. I don't know how to drink water. This right here is my acoustic setup. Input 2, and I've used this since the Ultra. I definitely have tried acoustic IRs, but in my opinion, I just haven't found one that doesn't add a weird overtone to my ears. There's always this kind of honk I feel in the ones I've tried. I've bought some, I've purchased some, and it's cool, but for what I want the clearest acoustic sound. I don't need like a boxy sort of thing. I don't need a boxy, oh, this is an acoustic guitar with a mic. I don't need that. So all I do is input 2, of course, so I can plug in the piezo signal. And I usually drop it a little bit. My guitar outputs quite a lot for the piezo, so I drop it a little here. Then I go to a multi-comp to balance some things. Let's see what this is even doing right now. Oh, the output's down. So this actually defaults to boosting all of these by 6 since it's compressing it. I'd set that to 0 because I don't really want a boost of any type. And these settings are a little harsh. I'm really want it, like this is minus 43 for the high end. I really want it to grab all 3 ranges when I play normally. And you see the high isn't moving much, if at all. But personally, I want the low end to be squished. I don't want it to overtake anything. And then I put an EQ after the comp. I want the comp to adjust the guitar first of all, and then I boost stuff after that comp. I put up some low end. Depending on the gig, I'll adjust the high end sometimes, and then I notch out a few frequencies I don't like in the mid-range. And then a question about the strings being balanced. Personally, I've had many, I've bought and sold many Ernie Ball John Petrucci guitars from the first JP6 through to the Majesties. I've never had a problem in general. I've never had a problem in general with their piezo systems, and the Majesties have been superb in my opinion. No problems at all on the piezo with the Majesties. With the older models, I did have to change out some of the saddles myself. They sent me replacement saddles and things like that. But those were on the older models. I think they've updated the entire system a few times now. And even the Majesty, I noticed, I opened this one up and the circuit board is revision 2, and there's like 50% less cables in there. If you've ever seen the first Majesty guitar, if you open up the back panel, it is full. There are like millions of wires in there, and that's cool. It made it work. It sounds great. But they really updated the revision, and there's a lot less cable going on in there, which is great. But I've never had a problem with this piezo set. I'm sure any piezo platform or whatever can have a problem. Any gear can have a problem. And I have experienced problems. Before I got the Majesty, I had a Schecter, and this was like 2000 something, early 2000s, with a, what was it? LR Bags in there. I had a problem with that one. I had a problem with another brand that I can't remember right now. And again, I've had problems on the earlier JP6. Those are Fishman. I've had problems on the Fishman one that you install on a guitar. I did that. Yeah, so, thanks for the sub. But anything can have a problem. So can you play each string individually so I can hear? Yes, I can do that. But keep in mind, the way I have it EQ'd, it might sound louder if a lower string has more bass. So that's something to keep in mind. I think you know that. That's why you're asking. But I really haven't had much issue. Let me actually get off this preset. Well, let me turn these off so there's no like compression and EQ. So here is, let me get a volume first. I don't want to blow anybody away. And this is a 7 string, so I have an additional low B. But here's each string. Here we go. Thinner strings are quieter in general, so I don't know if they compensate each saddle, to bring up the volume. I think they don't. If I tap on them, they're all even. So I don't think they compensate per string, right? But that's the piezo. I know that's a little not fractal specific, but yeah, I use a piezo for that. So where were we? Space Verb. IRC, if you're still watching, did you find any other presets that, what's this 22-second reverb? That doesn't sound familiar to me. Yeah, no problem. Since I'm streaming, I can't quickly go through the presets and find things. But yeah, if anybody knows of anything, I feel I haven't seen this one. Is this one new? Let's try it. I'm turning down the volume first just so I don't blow the stream out if it's loud. But here we go. Let's see. Let's look at this. 22-second. So there I just have the acoustic on right now on the guitar itself. There's a switch. Just balancing volume. Now I don't have a volume pedal plugged into this. Normally I would, I'd roll this up, but let's just hear what this sounds like with the acoustic so you can hear as I play. And this very nice long reverb. And I think there's some scenes. Yeah, okay, let's try these out. Here's the first. I really like that. So I changed, you heard the flanged reverb here. Is this 100% mix? No, it's super high. So there's very little dry signal coming through. So without the acoustic, that's why it's very washy. You would set the mix above 50% to take out some of the dry signal. But I added it back in by putting the acoustic guitar. But I really, really like this chorus effect on this reverb. Generally speaking, you would make the reverb in a parallel row and put the chorus after it in that parallel row so it doesn't affect the main tone. But because this preset is focusing on that washed out sort of sound, it's not important if it's affecting the dry guitar as well. But having input 2 here with the piezo really shows what I'm playing. I really like this. I'm going to stop talking and play a little more. Again, anytime you have any questions or something, you want to see something, let me know. Hop in the chat. I'm just hanging out, making noises here. So this is acoustic only. I'll bring in the reverby sound. That is cool. I have to turn the volume down because when I play guitar, it shuts off my mic. That seems like a new preset to me. I don't know about that one. So that's super cool. Forlorn, I don't know. See, now I don't know if any of these existed before. This seems more like a straight ahead patch. What is this? I was wrong. It is not a straight ahead patch. That is cool. Let's see, what else? Oh, this 80s clean. I think this... Yeah, listen to that compressor. I was saying this on a stream yesterday. A lot of people like that 80s tone for the pitch block, that detune, but it's the compressor, man. There's two in this? Oh my gosh. Pedal comp and optical comp for like a overall man. That's cool. It's definitely that compressor. Here's lush. Oh my goodness, a bunch of things turned on. That's very lush. Clean lead. Okay. This is coming from my territory. That's what I call mine. That sounds good. These all sound good. These all sound good. They always sound good. Deluxe dotted eighth. What's so deluxe about it? Thank you for the sub on YouTube. Yeah, so again, if you're new here, my name's Chris. This is AxeFX Tutorials. I have a website that's out of date. It's always out of date. I always need to keep updating it. I did put the latest firmware updates there. But yeah, I'm on the forum. My name's Chris there. And if you have any questions, I'm on a little break now, but you can send me questions there. Or it's best to come to these live streams because so much of this is, hey, this doesn't sound good. It's really hard to do over text. If you can do it on these live streams and you have any questions, it's much easier to help because I can show you exactly what's going on. But thanks so much for subbing to the YouTube and following on Facebook and things like that. I just want to get the information out there and help as many people as I can. So much appreciated. Another thing with this whole no gigs thing, I swear that this action is higher these days. It feels like the strings are so high off of this guitar. I don't think they are. I think it's just my hands. I tend to set it a little high as well because of the acoustic thing. I don't like it too close to the fretboard, but interesting. So let's see. Let me check in on the forum real quick. Let me let people know I'm still going. And let's see. Oh, IRC had a question about how I'm doing the stream. Maybe I can answer that. But let me just say, hey guys, still going. Any questions about the FM3? Come on down. There's that. Godly Echoes. What is that? Wow, one of these delays is really, really long. Something's... Is it this? Time... I don't know. Maybe the delay is going into itself, and wow, that was something I played a long time ago, just started. That's great. The planets, what is this? Oh, here's a question for you guys. When you pick up the guitar, either at a gig or something like that, what is the first thing you play? I had this discussion with some of my gig partners over the years. So when you grab a guitar, what's the first thing you do? I don't mean like if you tune or something like that. What is there something that you just immediately do the first time you grab your guitar for the day? I've been doing it this whole time, so you might have seen already. There's definitely a pitch something going on, and I think the fifth or whatever fourth that is making it sound weird. That's a fun one. Let's see. Oh, this one was fun. I used this a little bit yesterday. This preset makes it seem like you're playing faster than you are. Let me figure it out again. I forgot. Yeah, that one's fun. So all I was doing is this. And it makes it sound. Oh, I wonder if I could use that for the intro of Don't Stop Believing. Oh man, this is funny. We've just figured it out. We can now play the intro of Don't Stop Believing way slower and sound amazing. Maybe just turn it off before that last bend, but that's hilarious. Cheaters, we're all cheaters. No one can play the guitar, we just use the effects. I'm kidding. I am kidding. That's cool. Ooh, 8 voice chorus. I think I liked this one. Yeah, there we go. Cool. I think a lot of people overlook clean presets because it's so fun to just chug and stuff like that. But there's a lot of cool stuff up in here. Let's go down a little bit. Let's see. Again, if you're watching and you have any questions or anything about the FM3, let me know in the comments below. Isn't that what they say? Something like that. There's a darn preset that I was having fun with the other day, and I can't figure out what it was. So I'm going to have to go through each one until I find it. It's very frustrating. I didn't write it down. Was it this? I don't think it was this. No, it was something with like a delay effect, and I'll never know. But let's just try some of these sort of amp-specific presets just to see. I'm not the best player. I'm sure that's I'm sure that's known by now. Basement About to Explode. I've always liked this one. That sounds so good. What's going on in this one? Bass guy. What's going on in the cab here? 410. Okay, pretty basic stuff, but yeah, that sounds good. That's totally a usable tone. I think a lot of people, they think about tone as if one tone should do everything, and you have one distortion tone that works for like effect style tones, and you have the same tone that works for leads, and the same tone that works for rhythm, and the same tone you roll it back and you get a clean tone. I mean, some amps can do that, but a lot of times it can't. And a tone like this Basement About to Explode thing, if you're looking for tones in the factory presets or anywhere else, and you hear this, you go, oh, that doesn't sound good. But take a sec and think if you could use it as an effect type tone. This could be a cool effect for a moment in a song. You know, it's very mid-rangey, very, you know, that sort of thing. It could be used like in the bridge or in the intro, and you start. Or maybe that's like in the background on your recording track to give some focus on the mid-range behind like a wider sound something else. You know, you put those two together on the track, or you have your other guitarist play sort of a wider, more bassy tone. I'm just guessing here, maybe something like this. You know, so maybe even that's like an effect type tone where it's so wide and so bassy that you wouldn't use that for leads or like a very descriptive melody line or something in the song as the guitarist. But put these two together. Have one guitarist play that and have another guitarist play the other one, and it might sound really, really cool. Alrighty, I'll see if I can get another wave of people in here, but if not, I might end stream pretty soon. Oh, this guy, I've been trying to get in touch with this guy. Let's see, why did he like that on the forum? I asked him to come to the live stream, and he hasn't yet. Don't see it. This guy's asking questions on stand-ins. Interesting. Come to the stream. I can show you what your question is on the stream. Yeah, I don't see him. That's so weird. He just liked something else. So if you're watching and you had questions on adding foot switches, let me know. I'm here, so we can show you anything like that. But yeah, if you're here, let me know. Okay, if you're just hanging out, cool. I am going to change gears here. There's someone with a problem preset on the forum. I'm actually going to load that in here and try and solve that for him. But at any time, if you have a question or want to talk about something, let me know. But let's see. Okay. So I'm experiencing a buffering clipping artifact on one of my presets. Let's see what this does. So if you're not used to loading presets, you can just click and drag them right on this nameplate area. Just make sure you're on a blank space first so you don't overwrite the preset you use all the time. I've definitely done that in the past, but that's why you back up and make sure you can reload in case anything like that happens. So I'm turning this way down. I don't know what this sounds like. I would suggest you do that too, even at home if you're not streaming or something. Okay, I'm going to turn up a little bit more. I can hear it. It's like a clicky, clicky sound, like way in the back. Now that I'm louder, it's not way in the back. It's right there. So I don't know what that is. So if I'm trying to figure out the problem on a preset, first, I guess I'll save this so I don't have to keep reloading it. So I'll save it to this slot. So I save it as is. The next thing I do is I start... Am I hearing it now? No. The next thing I do is I start removing blocks. So I always look at the CPU and it's low, so that's fine. But I always start removing blocks, especially if it's like a tone thing. But as you remove each block, play and see if the problem goes away. I leave the amp and cab, of course, for last, because you need that to make the tone. But I'm going to remove some blocks as I go, and see if I can figure this out. And generally, I don't play while I'm removing the block, just so there's no pops or clicks or something. Okay, still there. And it doesn't even matter what the settings are right now. I'm just trying to identify where the problem is. Okay, still there. Sounds great otherwise. Very compressed, like juicy sound. And I know it's a little quiet again. I don't want any surprise. Nope. Ah, it went away when I removed that delay block. Did you see that? Maybe I'll pop in. Okay, so we've isolated it to the block. So now that I've removed stuff, I'm just going to revert the preset so it's back to what it was. There it is. So now if we think it's this, we're going to remove this only and see if it goes away. Yep, it does. So now we need to figure out why this happens if we can. So let's look at the settings. We have a stereo tape delay here. And is it on? It's not even on. What if I turn it on? Okay, we hear the delay, but the sound is still there. One thing I'll check is the mute mode. So it's bypass. We shouldn't hear anything. Let's go to through. Still there. I think this doesn't affect anything. This doesn't affect anything. It was set to mute in. What if we change certain parameters? It's still muted. Let's just see what happens. Okay, it's not that. Let's try and change to another channel. See if that does it. It doesn't happen anymore. Let's go back. There it is. So this might be isolated to the stereo tape type of delay. Let me look for any other settings that might make this sound, but I doubt I'm going to find it. Just visually, you don't know. Could be a filter thing. I doubt it. Let's just play with that. Oh, that is interesting. I think it went away when I turned the filter all the way down. Yep, and if we turn it up, let's just say 20.1, does it? So I think I found the bug. You've witnessed it here, folks. There's a bug, at least in the stereo tape type, but it might be any tape. But I'm also going to check to see if this bug occurs in another type. But at 20, the lowest value, there's no sound issue. But if I go 0.1 more, 20.1, we start to hear it. So there's that. So it might be tape, but we're going to try something else. Let's go to digital mono, which is a normal thing, and that's by default set to 20. So let's see what happens. Right, it's not there. Let's go to 20.1. It is not there. Let me turn it up more and see. So this leads me to believe it is unique to the tape type. Let's try a different tape style delay, because it was also lagging, so it's like there's too many processes going on or something like that. What did it? It was stereo tape. Let's try mono tape. Let's just see what that does. Doesn't do it. Let's go to stereo tape again. This also could be from an old, like, preset file updated to the new one having the issue, and then when you reset it doesn't work. Let's see if that's true. Yep, now it's gone. So let's revert the preset and try and make it happen again. Okay, that immediately gets rid of it. So let me add to my notes on the forum here. Okay, quick screenshot. And that is how we solve bugs. This preset sounds pretty darn good. Okay, I do hear the clicking. Let's see. Yep, another stereo tape. So I don't know why he has two of these. You could use a different channel. Let's see. Wondering why there's two blocks rather than just using different channels. But yeah, this preset sounds great. Hear it a little bit. It sounds like a input issue or something going on. There's a lot of drive going on. You can hear all the noise in my setup. Wow, this sounds really good. This is a really good preset. Okay, well, I think I got that set. Anyway, haven't been any comments in a while, so I think I will end stream here. Hopefully everyone has a good day with firmware 1.04. Have fun with all the new updates. It's much snappier. We got a lot of the Axe3 guts shoved into the FM3 with this one. And it's just a pleasure to play. Like I said, with all that's going on, it's nice to be able to go to our music and just kind of center ourselves, get ourselves ready to go out into the day and do what we need to do. So thanks so much for watching. If you tuned in and left, that's totally cool. That's what we do here. It's just a hang out, leave, ask some questions, things like that. It's all good. So thanks a bunch. I'm going to leave this video up. Probably won't be editing it as an excerpt, but hopefully everyone has a good day. Have fun with your music, and we'll see you next time. Laters.